Thank you for joining us in the session. I'm very excited to come. We're our second year here, and I think it's one of the best audiences to speak to about QA and quality assurance. And what we'd like to do in this 30-minute session is really give you a bit of an angle on the mobile application QA market. This is our market. This is the market we're working at. And we want to give you a sort of view from that angle. Okay. All right, so just to touch, about mobility. Mobility is everywhere. It's not just a saying. That's what's happening today in the world. You can see it around yourselves. Everyone is with their mobile phone. They're, totally handling their whole life through it. You can see it in the workforce. More and more people are relying on their mobile devices to do their work. I am today, if I don't take my mobile phone to a business trip, it's much more critical than if I don't take my laptop. I do everything through my mobile phone. And with that, the importance of quality assurance of mobile applications is following suit. So the quality of a mobile application, since it's used when you're away from the office, when you're moving, is super critical. And this aspect, we see it everywhere. So, just in terms of, online sales and Black Friday, that's the crazy day that all the US people run to the stores and buy everything in a huge discount. So this year, it was the last Friday, 60% of all the purchases, and this is not on the Cyber Monday, this is not when they buy online, this is in the regular buying day, 60% of the purchases were done not in the stores, were not done from the desktop or web, they were done from the mobile devices. That is huge. That means if your buy button doesn't work properly, you're literally losing something like 25% of your yearly revenue. IT spending on mobility, is going through the roof. Workforce, 480 million people are going to fully depend on mobile devices in their regular work days. If we're looking on the different verticals, this is something that we see very clearly. So there are verticals that ran forward with mobility and others that are following suit slowly. So the financial services industry is by far the first in this market. So we today at Experitest, we have 8 out of the 10 largest banks in the world as our customers. And this is clearly the most significant segment that we see. They were the banks and the insurance companies, but mainly the banks, were the first to have mobile applications that were fully operational. The cost of error there is so big that they were the first to make sure they have continuous integration, full automation of all their mobile applications. After that, we see several other segments, definitely healthcare, mobile operators and others, but by far financial industries are the leading ones. All right. Okay, so that's in general about mobile, but what is specific to mobile QA? So since we're looking, we have today around 1,000 large enterprise customers, so we have a very large view of what is happening on the quality assurance part of mobility. And what we see are a few things. First of all, scaling up. Okay, so if I would stand here 3 years ago, I would tell you there is a lot of stuff going on in mobile QA. But it was all still relatively small scale. What we see during the last 18 months is that projects are growing exponentially. We see customers that had 4 or 5 applications with full automation testing grow today to 20, 35, 100. And the reason is that they understand, very similar to what Ajay was saying in his very well presented session, that they understand that they are releasing their mobile applications to the market so quickly that if they don't have full coverage of everything, they're unable to compete in this fast-moving market. So scaling up is one very clear trend that we're seeing now. Running tests in parallel, this is another one. Mobility testing has these hundreds and thousands of devices that the application needs to work across all of them. And these devices are released on a daily basis. You have new operating system versions, you have new models of devices and so forth. So the ability to run in parallel many, many tests on many, many devices is critical. And we see parallel execution as a very significant requirement and trend. Another one is implementing continuous integration. So again, similar to what Ajay was saying, is mobile development above any other development is total agile. Applications are being released to the market on average, every 2 weeks there's a new version, and some of them have every day a new version. There is no way to manually test this. It's either continuous integration, where it's all the time being, new code is being submitted, is being tested, and regressions are being pointed directly into the development team for fix, or you just cannot release the mobile application. No way to manually test it. So continuous integration, very clear. We see it being done on all sorts of platforms, and we'll touch on that later. Real-life network conditions. So again, here the understanding is that a mobile user is different than a desktop user. He's moving, he's going down elevators, he's entering tunnels, reception is interrupted, and the mobile application needs to work 100% under all of these conditions. So if you have a trading mobile application in order to trade stock, and you go through a tunnel in a train, and the mobile application goes offline, and the information is either lost, or just nothing happens, and the user is not notified, the importance of that and the damage that is caused is huge. So the request to test mobile applications under real-life network conditions is a major one, and we see that very clearly now in the market. Layout testing. This might also be called compatibility testing. So again, since there are so many mobile devices, there is the functionality layer, but there is also the layout. How is it visually presented? And the need to make sure that the different device sizes, the different device resolution screens, the mobile application is still presented on the visual level correctly is a very strong requirement. And we see that again in the layout testing. The ability to automatically test that the layout of the mobile application is consistent across all of the mobile devices. Peripheral setup testing, we see that trend, Internet of Things, picking up, though slowly. We don't see a lot of that. We know that there's a lot of hype around Internet of Things. In reality, this is still not a market that is happening big time, but is starting to evolve. We see video and audio testing, as well as a major trend is device management of distributed labs. So again, similar to what Ajay was pointing out earlier, the testing teams are dispersed across different geographies. The need to have many mobile devices on which you can test and still the teams to be spread around is such that it requires a way to manage mobile device labs that can be then used across different territories. Okay, so if I had to point out, what are the two main questions that mobile quality assurance teams need to take? I'd say there are two now in terms of tool selection. One is, should we go for a free open source tool or a commercial tool? And here, the open source tools in the market, at least for mobile applications, such as Appium and others, they're obviously no cost, so they're free of charge, but the projects are many times at risk. There is no support. They have a very unclear roadmap moving forward. There is low speed and delays many times in the performance. They're not geared toward enterprises, so they do not have the ability to manage a lot of mobile devices. They don't have the ability to interact and integrate into the existing enterprise systems. This is usually something we see small, medium businesses, small, medium companies opting for. On the other hand, you have commercial tools. Obviously, these are at cost, but you have dedicated support. These are usually the enterprise choice. Project robustness and high speed of execution, which are extremely important when you scale up, as well as low cost of resources. So again, as Ajay mentioned before, the need for the programming skills is much lesser on these, even though you still need them. So you still need to program in any one of these two options, but here it's much quicker and easier to learn and move forward. The second question is, should we go with a mobile tool set that is on-site or public? Now, those of you who are perhaps not in the mobile quality assurance project might less be familiar, but there are two options today in the commercial market for testing mobile applications. One is where you set the whole setup of the mobile devices and everything on-site in the customer's own premises, and the other one is there are public cloud companies that offer on a per-hour devices. The public ones are cost-effective for the short term. So if you need 5 hours or so, it might be better, but it's really suitable for small, medium businesses. There's low security because everything is external to the customer's organization. There's no control over the devices, no dependencies on the system integrator. So if you're a services company, if you use one of these options, the customer is very loosely tied to you. And there are connectivity and performance issues on these because they are hosted externally and there is a lot of interfaces in the middle that can come in. The on-site option, where you have an on-site device lab and the different teams can use, is very cost-effective for the long term because even though you buy the equipment, the devices and the servers to start with, that cost is negligent compared to the per-hour cost. You have control over the devices, very high security, everything is within the VPN of the customer, and you keep the business with the service company because when you're managing this for your customers, you're very strongly tied into his business. Okay, this is the Experitest portfolio of products. So what we offered, you have at the top end, you have the, at the top end you have these are the functional testing tools, the automation and the manual. As you can see, C-Test Automation, this is the test automation tool. It enables to do automatic testing. You create a test run once, you run it across any mobile device. Doesn't matter if it's the same mobile operating system, if it's different, you can record on an Android device, run it on an iOS, Windows Phone, BlackBerry, doesn't matter which model. We also released to the market for those who are a HP Powerhouse a specific mobile add-on for UFT or QTP. So if your customer already has UFT or QTP, wants to use it, you can use our mobile add-on. It enables to use UFT and QTP exactly the way you use them for desktop and web, only now on real mobile devices. The other one is C-Test Manual. So this, again, not always you can complete the full automation of the mobile application, so you also have the C-Test Manual. This is for manual testers that want to test their application, and it is fully integrated, so you basically test the application from the convenience of your computer. You don't need to type on the device. There is an automatic report that is being generated, including screenshots and videos. This is fully integrated into Jira and Quality Center, so any bug that the manual QA team finds is directly logged into the development team's work plan. And this, again, as Ajay said, it needs to be, you're not only to identify the bugs, you need to also solve the problem that you identified. And this full integration allows the development team to right away debug the problems. Okay. Next, at the bottom, you can see the performance tools. These are new tools. And the C-Test Network Virtualization and the C-Test Load. So these enable you to do, the C-Test Network Virtualization enables you to test under real-life network conditions. So it enables you to emulate all the situations of bad network conditions, 3G, Wi-Fi, bad reception, mobility between different cells, and so forth. And C-Test Load, which enables you to test the application under varying load conditions. And this is a new product we launched. We've got a lot of requirements from the mobility QA teams to provide something that can simulate what happens when the application is performing under severe load. Many users trying to access, let's say, the bank, and they're trying to log in through their mobile device. So what we did here, unlike some other load solutions in the market, we actually created a low-cost Linux machine that can run thousands and tens of thousands of real Android emulators. So this really generates authentic mobile load. It's not taking a snapshot of the traffic of one mobile device and then trying to guess how it would look if there were 10,000 or 100,000, but it's actually running 10,000 Android emulators. And this is fully scalable to any number of users. Okay, CTest Cloud in the middle. This is the product that enables you to test on devices that are not located where the tester is. So this enables you to set up a on-site mobile device lab and have the different testing teams from around the world test on this inventory of mobile devices. Okay, next slide. Okay, company in a snapshot. So we're really in the business of quality assurance for mobile DevOps, and we have today more than 1,000 enterprise customers, clearly number one in the banking industry, around 100 employees with global reach. Next slide. Okay, some of the customers. All right, a quick case study on the banking industry. This is a multinational bank that's been with us now for more than 3 years. They've been testing 20 applications, 15 of them end user applications like wallet apps, trading apps, mortgage apps, bank cards, and so forth. And the other 5 are internal bank applications. This is something we see more and more, that the banks has all sorts of forms that they fill in for mortgage applications and so forth, and also these were tested. Next slide. What were the requirements? So first of all, they wanted on-premise devices, all within the bank's VPN. There was no question to take anything outside. The integration into their back-end with external devices was not an option. They wanted cross-platform testing on all 4 mobile operating system, Android, iOS, Windows Phone, and BlackBerry. They wanted that there will be no need, no dependency of the quality assurance team on the development team, because the development team is not focused on helping the quality assurance teams much of the time. So they wanted to be independent, so they don't need the source code, they don't need to do any changes or hooks into the application itself, and that's why they required on-the-fly instrumentation. They wanted support for multi-form filling, unvisible lists, all sorts of very difficult things to do, and the ability to test on devices that are located in one bank location by different testing teams. Okay, the implementation, as mentioned, more than 3 years. We have more than 100 automation stations with 200 automation engineers. This is a huge project. They're spread across 4 geographies. They have today 20,000 tests. So it's not only they have 20 applications, they have them in something like 15 different languages. So this full automation project, probably the largest in the market, 20,000 tests. When the execution has more than 200,000 because they're running them on a full matrix of devices. That's integrated both to, originally they started with HP's QTP, later on they dropped it because of license costs, and they went on to JUnit and Eclipse, and it's integrated also into QC and Jenkins. All right, coverage, they reached 90% coverage with automation. The rest is being done manually. They have a full cycle once a day. All right, next slide. Okay, so in this case study, what we can see is that the automation and the scale is very critical. And if we move on to the results, so what was the result of this project? In terms of ROI, a single QA engineer needed 56 man-years to finish this. You'd need 20,000 engineers to do this on a regular basis if you did it manually. And the development time, this is part of the DevOps part, the fact that it's fully integrated into QC and Jira, enabled the development team to release 3 to 4 times quicker than if this would have been done manually. One other aspect was the device management. They had here hundreds of devices. Before the full automation project with CTest Automation, CTest Cloud, what they did was they had boxes of devices. So they had a box of devices for this team, for that team, and so forth. They managed it in Excel. There was a person that was responsible for that box, and whoever needed one of the devices would go on and try to get a device from the responsible person. This was a total mess. The devices were not charged half of the time. No one knew which operating system was deployed on which device. The devices were all the time being lost, damaged, and so forth. What we did was we implemented there, next slide please, the Experitest cloud. And the Experitest cloud basically enabled them to have 3 dedicated locations, one in Europe, one in India, and one in the US. Each one of them hosts a few tens of devices. All of these devices are available to any one of the testing teams. And basically they started with 200 devices, then they went up to 300 devices. And there is no need for anyone to manage these. These are automatically managed through the system and can be used remotely. Okay, so Experitest Cloud, this is what enabled basically to do this. This enables you to set an on-site device lab that can be accessed remotely. Slide. We'll show a short demo of this. So this is the Experitest Cloud from the admin point of view. It's web-based. You can see that you have here the number of users. You can see which of the devices are available and which not. You can see per each user which devices he's using. You can see the reservation history. You can see any event that happened on each one of the devices. You can see which devices are in high demand, which not. In the Devices tab, you can see here the list of all of the devices that are in the system. You can sort them by those that are available or in use. You can sort them by platform, Android, iOS, any one of them. You can see the operating system version, the device name, and so forth. You can have full information on each device, drill down to any level of information. You can delete the device, you can clean it, you can reserve the device for future use. Okay, so if you want, let's say, to book a device later on, you can see here, you can see what is the availability of the device, and then you can book it. So you can edit the device. This is all from the admin point of view. So as you can see here, the devices are basically fully managed, and you can see the device network traffic, what happens in terms of if there is any traffic running on it. On the Users tab, you can see each one of the users that has been defined on the system and is allowed to access it. There are different roles, user, project admin, or general admin. These are the applications that you have. You can upload any application file, ADB, IPA, and so forth. And you can manage the applications. So you can see that the applications themselves, you can upload them, you can remove them for the devices, whatever you want to do. And so this basically enables you to manage all of the applications across all of the devices that are in the cloud. What's very important and interesting is in the settings part, what you can do is you can set projects. So you can basically have a Chinese wall between different teams, and you can attribute in each project that you define what are the devices that will be associated with that project, what are the users that would be associated with that project. And once you've done that, only those users can access those devices and those applications. You can obviously, get full reports of what's going on in the cloud. What are the connected sessions? The reports are, you have basically any cut you want on the reports, so you can have a very good drill down on it as a manager to decide which additional devices need to be purchased, which users are booking devices and not using them, and so forth. Okay, and you can obviously automatically clean the devices. You can blacklist applications. Okay, if you don't want somebody to download a certain application to the device, you can blacklist it. This is very important for all sorts of security reasons. Okay, next slide. All right, Experitest Automation, the test automation tool, which enables you to record on one device, run it on any device of any mobile operating system. It plugs into all the existing test environments. So it plugs into the commercial HP and Microsoft and IBM, as well as to the open source, to WebDriver, Selenium, Python, Ruby, and others. And this obviously is fully integrated into the continuous integration environment, such as Jenkins, QC, and others. Okay, can we move on to that? All right, so this is a quick demo of that. This is the C-test automation. So now you can see from a user's point of view, from the tester's point of view, how he's adding a cloud device. And when he clicks on that, he can basically add the device and view the reflection of the real mobile device on his computer screen. So here he sees the list of all the devices in the cloud. He selects, he reserves one and opens it. And now you basically see he's working with one local device that he connected locally and one remote device in the cloud. And he opens it and he has full control of the device as though it was just nearby him. So as you can see, he has control both inside the application as well as outside the application, like in the settings, in the home and screen and so forth. Once he wants to start and record a automated test, he clicks on the record button, and now he records the test on the reflection of the real device that he has on his computer screen. And any action that he's doing is automatically being created in the test script, and he can later on run. So here he is recording a transaction in a bank. He logged in, he transferred a certain amount, and you see that once he stopped the recording, a script was automatically created. And that script can basically then run automatically on the device he recorded or on any other device. So he can select on which device, iOS, Android, Windows Phone, which model and so forth he wants to run. So now you can see this script basically being executed on another device. And the nice thing about this is that this script can then be exported into any one of the environments, into HP's QTP or UFT, into Selenium WebDriver, into Visual Studio, into JUnit, Perl, Python, and so forth. All right, let's move. Okay, C-test manual. So this is the complementing tool for the automation. So basically, it enables a manual tester, because there is still always some manual testing that needs to be done. Test from the convenience of his computer and get an automatic report with screenshots and everything, including integration into Jira and QC. Also, it enables, this is very important because this is real DevOps integration. It enables a developer that, let's say a bug was reported by the manual tester into the system, the developer can now open the same device that the bug was identified on remotely in a debug mode, so he can actually debug it as though it was locally connected to his machine. And this enables real integration between the QA team and the development team. All right, let's run this. Okay, so this is a quick demo on that. So here again, the manual tester adds a device from the cloud. He sees here the full list of devices, selects one of them, reserves it. And once he basically reserved the device, he can open it. He can open several devices. He wants to, you can see here in the tabs, he opened an HTC and an LG, and he's basically now able to test, basically controls the device as though the device was at his hand. He can do anything on the device. He can go to the home. He can basically switch it. He can put it into landscape mode. And so forth. So basically, you can do anything a manual tester could do as though the device was at his own hand. He can deploy an application on it, any application he wants. And obviously, he can clean the device and so forth. So as you see, it's as though the device was locally at his hand. Now, once he has the device set, he can even set the location of the device. He can control the GPS. So he can do testing that says, okay, let's assume the device was now in Washington, and let's test it in that manner. Now, once he enabled here the reporting, any action he's doing is automatically being created into the report, including a screenshot. So as you can see here, while he's clicking and doing stuff on the device, a report is being generated automatically, including the screenshot. And as we'll see in a minute, you can basically export this. It's generated as an HTML report. You can export it as a PDF. It's fully integrated into QC and Jira. So you'll see in a minute that once he basically created that, he can move on to see the the full report. He can edit the report. So let's say he wants to put in a comment for the development team, notice this and this or whatever. He can basically edit it into the report itself. And when he goes and looks at the report, let's say he generates it in one of the options. In this case, we'll demo here how it looks in an HTML. So you see now each one of the steps that he did with the screenshot of what happened, the command, the action that he did, so he can see each one of these. All right, so this is now, let's say he identified a bug, he can now open a JIRA case on that directly from Experitest manual. So what you can see now is that he'll be opening a JIRA case, logging in the information directly to the development team. And basically, once he does that, it means that the development team can, the resolution is not that good, but what he's doing now is opening a JIRA case. And the same integration we have also into QC. This is the full DevOps integration. And now the developer can actually debug the bug that he opened. What you can see here is now the device goes into debug mode, so the developer can actually debug on the same device. All right, let's quickly move to the performance tools. 2 minutes, we'll just show that. Experitest load. So as we said, this generates real mobile load traffic. The nice thing about this is that you don't need to be a load engineer to operate this. You can be a test automation engineer and do this. You don't need to go into the internals of the load. The load is created automatically. So can we quickly move into that? We'll do this very quick. So this is the Experitest load. It enables you to create a load test. Once you created the test, you basically define the different parameters of the test. What is the script? You can upload an existing script from your test automation repository or create it. So here's the script that will run. You define here the virtual users. The virtual users are the Android emulators that are going to be launched during the test and create the load traffic. So you can define any number of applications, and then you upload the application with which you want to do the load testing. So this means that now we're going to launch a few tens of mobile emulators that are going to run this application and create load on the back end, and then we can see how the application will function. You can define the start time, ramp up time, and so forth, and then see a report of what happened, how the application and each one of the transactions, let's say the payment transaction and so forth, functioned when it was under severe load. Last one, let's go to Experitest Network Virtualization. Enables you to emulate real network conditions. Basically, it means that we put in a Linux machine in the middle, so you can actually see how it performs when the network itself is not performing well or optimal. You can define the network conditions, where it's located, what type of device connectivity, Wi-Fi, 3G, and so forth. What is the signal, where it's happening, and then this profile of the network goes into the automation test, and you can see how it performed. All right, thank you very much. We're over time. I know the weird sounds from here indicate that. If we have 2 minutes for questions, no? Okay.
No.
All right. Sorry about that. Thank you.